Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Morrissey, and I am a program manager on the Women Techmakers team and the global lead of International Women's Day. So thank you for being here. I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be a part of this event today and in this lineup of talented and brilliant women. I also want to acknowledge and thank the ambassadors who have come together to put on this event. I know firsthand how complicated and time consuming it can be to put on events like this. And I want to express my deepest gratitude that you all dedicated your time and energy and passion into putting this event together over the past months. As you might be able to tell already from my accent, I am an American. I was born and raised in California and have lived here all of my life. I was also born in the late 1980s, which is a time when many women before me didn't have the same opportunities or liberties that I got to experience, but who were responsible for paving the way for me to live in a more equitable society. I had privileges like access to education, female role models, and people telling me that I could achieve anything. And I don't want to pretend that I know what your experience was growing up in Afghanistan, but I can imagine that it might have been different in many different ways. However, I did have the chance to sit down with Hassanat before this event and talk to her a little bit about her experience, the challenges that she's faced, the excitement that she also has. And one thing that I've really realized in having the chance to connect with women like Hassanat all over the world is that while we all come from very different backgrounds, what we grew up around looked and felt different. But as women, we also have a lot of similarities. Our shared experience is something that unites us. And unfortunately, many of that shared experience is not always positive, especially as women in tech. Women Techmakers as a program is dedicated to building a world where all women can thrive in tech. But right now, globally, women only make up 25% of the entire industry. And I know that in Afghanistan, where women face many cultural and societal obstacles when pursuing a career in tech, that this number is even lower. I felt really lucky that I get to work on the Women Techmakers program. The end goal of my work is to create a more equal world for every person. But for anyone who works in this space, you know that this work is not easy. It's so important, but it's also incredibly hard. We live in a world where everywhere women do not have the same opportunities or liberties as men. Inequity that is displayed in many different ways all the time. And so when we dedicate our lives to this work, to creating equality, we also realize that we're fighting an uphill battle. And oftentimes, we may not even get to see what the true impact of our work is. But I am here today to tell you that this work matters. It matters that you use your voice to speak up about these issues. It matters that you are a part of this industry, setting examples for so many girls in Afghanistan that maybe never even dreamed of having this type of career. And it matters that you are out in the world creating. Every single one of you is making an impact and moving us closer to a world where there is gender equality. And while we can recognize that we still have a long way to go, we can also take a moment to reflect on how far we've come, as International Women's Day is first and foremost a celebration. It's a time to recognize all of the accomplishments of women the trailblazers, the legends, the creators, and the connectors, many of whom are speaking here today at this event. 2021 marks the 8th year of the Women Techmakers program and the 8th time that we've celebrated International Women's Day as a community. Over these past 8 years, we've seen hundreds of thousands of events throughout the entire world, which have reached hundreds of thousands of people. So this community that you are a part of today extends beyond the attendees of this event and to the thousands of women and allies globally who have participated and celebrated International Women's Day. And these celebrations are so important. When we get a chance to see women on the virtual stages sharing their knowledge and expertise, when we get a chance to connect with one another and learn a little bit more about where we're all coming from and what our experiences are, we really start to change minds and create change. This Women Techmakers community is incredibly powerful. Over the past 8 years, we've seen some of the most interesting, creative, and inspiring events happen around International Women's Day. The ambassadors who've put on this event today have a huge passion for bringing people together, providing spaces to connect and to create community. And community is so important. Coming together like this helps to drive awareness of the issues and challenges that women face. It creates more empathy and understanding between everyone, and it really helps to elevate the roles and status of women across the industry. But it was right around this time last year that our entire world was confronted with a brand new challenge: the spread of COVID-19 and the massive global shutdown. Over the past year, the statistics show that women have left the labor force at a rate of 4 times higher than men. And experts are believing that progress towards gender equality could be one of the many casualties of this pandemic. Prior to COVID-19, it was estimated that women were doing approximately 3/4 of the billions of hours of unpaid domestic and care work that are done around the world every single day. And that figure has only increased due to the pandemic as the burden continuously falls on women to do this type of work rather than men. And yet, in the face of all of this adversity, it's been this community of women tech makers around the world who have inspired me. They've continued to support and empower one another. When in-person events weren't possible, our ambassadors pivoted to learn everything there was to know about virtual events. And this community has continued to move forward, has continued to find ways to connect and to learn with one another, to come together to put events on like the one today. And it's exactly this type of creation and innovation that was the inspiration for our theme this year, which is courage to create. The challenges we have all experienced and continue to face as part of this global pandemic have ranged from loneliness and isolation to despair, grief, and loss. But I've really been able to see firsthand the power of human connection, even when it is over a screen, and how that can make an impact. I've attended countless virtual events where I've heard from women who are accomplishing incredible things. And I've also gotten the chance to network virtually with women all around the world and gotten to hear more about them, their stories, how this time has been for them, and what are the things that are getting them through every single day. Whether it's big or small, women are out there making things in the world and creating change in the industry. Because it is so important to have a diverse group of people. and talking about diversity in gender, but also in experience, in background, and in location. We want all of these types of people to be creating in tech because everyone's contributions are important. Everyone's voice deserves to be heard and recognized. And because it has been proven that diversity enhances products and creates better outcomes for the entire industry. So, this International Women's Day, I want to encourage you to add your voice and share what you have the courage to create. When we share a story, it has the power to motivate others, especially those who might not see themselves reflected in the tech industry. It could even set off a chain reaction of inspiration and creation. I also want to take a brief moment to recognize that in this past year, we may not have had the time or energy or ability to create massive changes. It has been a hard year. And if that's resulted in a lot of creation, that's great. There's no shame in that. But for some of us, just making it to the end of the day is cause enough for a celebration. And that is absolutely fine too. We do not have to be thriving right now. And we don't have to be using all of our spare time, if that even exists, coming up with incredible things. Prioritizing self care, putting your health, your well being, your friends, and your family first. These are things that have gotten me through this past year. And what this year has also shown me is to value the things that might feel small. In tech, I think we can get caught up in scale. People saying, don't build for thousands, build for millions, and needing to optimize, not wasting a single second. I've even caught myself thinking, oh, it's just a couple thousand views, it's nothing. And I've had to teach myself to change this mindset, to take a step back and recognize that if I'm able to make an impact on one person and to change their lives, that would be massively meaningful to me. And this has been a healthy adjustment for me to make over the past year. So that when I think about the idea of courage to create, I allow myself to think on a smaller scale. What am I creating that impacts my direct community? Or how can I make a difference for one person? And maybe that framing of cherishing the small is helpful for you too. Creation is a process. It takes time and it takes work and it takes energy. But when we reach a goal, when we finally finish a project or hit our target or launch our site, we often forget about all of the work, all of the countless hours and sleepless nights it might have taken us to get to this point. We're too busy celebrating, which is great. Or maybe we're already deciding what our next goal should be. But then when we get started on something new, when we set our next goal or come up with an idea for our next creation, we can feel overwhelmed or lost. The goal can feel so huge, so impossible to ever achieve. You might think, where do I even start? I've felt this so many times before in my life, and you think it would get easier. But when I'm sitting there looking at my goal that feels so far away, I can feel paralyzed and not know how to move forward. And so I have to remind myself that in these times, I need to take a deep breath to remember that I've been here before. All goals, when we first set them, can feel scary and overwhelming. But the important thing is that we just actually start. We take one step forward, even if it's small. And then rather than only focusing on the far off goal, we break it down into smaller pieces. And doing this can even make the most outrageous goals feel more manageable. So let's say that you wanted to start your own company. How would it feel to wake up every day with the goal in mind of, I want to launch my company and be profitable in 5 years? I know that personally, having that thought all the time would be scary, and produce a lot of anxiety and stress. But what about instead if you woke up thinking, I'm going to spend this next week researching other founders who started companies in my field and reach out to them to see if they'd be willing to talk to me? That to me feels like a goal I can accomplish. That doesn't feel too overwhelming or scary. It feels more manageable. And so creating something, especially when it's new or unknown, is not always going to be easy. But the important thing, as I said, is that we start. We take that one little baby step, and then we take another step, and then we take another. And eventually, the goal that felt so far away can start to feel a little bit closer. So, whatever you are creating, whether it be big or small, I also want to encourage you to share it, not just for those around you, but for yourself too. When we take time to reflect on the things that we do well, that amazing sense of pride you can get when you finish a project or delivered a great presentation or speech, we are internally changing ourselves too. We are taking credit for our success. And we start to experience and build a deep sense of inner confidence and strength. And as our confidence builds, we become that much more empowered to take on new challenges and create new opportunities. So today, I challenge you to reflect on what courage to create means to you. What have you created over the past year? Make sure to celebrate that. Remember, it doesn't have to be huge. Making it through this time in one piece, in my opinion, is one of the biggest wins that we can all have right now. Or maybe you're just getting started on something new. What will you have the courage to create? And what is that first step that you're going to take to get you a little bit closer towards that goal? So I'd encourage you to think about this, to share with those around you. It's always great to have supporters and people on your side, that can cheer you on, but also hold you accountable. So thank you all for having me today. A huge thank you to the ambassadors who made this